What's the hottest thing a guy can say during sex? Not really what he said but a sound he made. I heard him whimper once and I found out something new about myself lol. The moment he does his first thrust and when he's about to come fuck. Compliments such as you're so hot / beautiful / amazing / etc. Especially if you come fast, just tell me it's because I'm just so hot that you couldn't help it. Then I'm flattered and you don't have to be embarrassed about it. One time my husband said is that my pussy and I immediately said no this is Patrick. In the Patrick voice. It was perfect. Unfortunately also ruined the moment. But created a core memory. He doesn't say it anymore. So maybe stay away from that one? Do you have any idea what you fucking do to me after a lot of messing around and teasing? Honestly, loud, shameless moaning. I love it when men just lose themselves and not care about holding back vocally. They don't even need to say words, I just want them to moan like, well, like a WH*re. Sorry, I don't really know how else to describe it. I really like when my husband checks in. It's literally just you like that? But it's all deep and sexy because he's into it. And if I respond yes then, obviously, eggs him on and it gets even better. Sometimes though it's a no and we change it up, which is also great. Communication is the hottest, y'all. Edit, thanks for the award. I once had a guy give me lots of compliments leading up to sex, you're so hot, your tits are incredible, how can someone look so good, etc. Then, while going down on me he paused for a moment, and when I looked down he was just staring into my vagina. I asked what he was doing and he said you have the prettiest vagina I've ever seen. As someone with a praise kink I was done for. This was months ago and I'm still riding the high. To make it even better he had such a cute accent so the compliments sounded that much better. After I had one of the best orgasms of my life from him going down on me he looked at me again and said well, I'm very hard right now one of the best sexual experiences I've ever had. Being enthusiastic about pleasuring your partner and letting them know is the hottest thing there is. My husband was going down on me and when I got close, I covered my mouth to keep quiet, habit from living in an apartment. Without moving his head from between my legs he reached up, yanked my hand away and said don't you dare keep quiet, I want to hear you. Instant earth-shattering orgasm. Not actual words but when they're loudly moaning and whimpering like yes please show me how good it feels. I am a dude that has sex with women but one thing I did is switched my language from I'm going to come, to you're going to make me come and that's been a positive change. I have been trying to make a similar change. From I'm turned on to you turn me on, etc. This thread is making me both giggly and horny. r/AskReddit is horny today, I see. If it's not casual sex, saying I love you so much absolutely sends me. I don't know what the hottest thing to say would be but I can tell you that inexplicably blurting out delicioso in an Italian accent is not it. My now wife had a good humor about it but definitely killed the mood immediately. People who had sex with a celebrity, how was it? I know of someone who slept with Jude Law, apparently and was a good night but in the morning he gave her a NDA to sign as he had been doing coke with her the previous night. We called it the Jude Law nude clause. Friend hooked up with Snoop and he only wanted to go down on her for hours. She said the whole time she was thinking OMG Snoop Dogg is eating me out right now lol. My college roommate slept with Post Malone. She said he was nice and it was exceptionally average. Someone here definitely has a kid with Nick Cannon. One of the old ladies in my grandma's dementia ward used to tell this story to anyone who would listen about a time she once gave a handjob to Engelbert Humperdinck backstage at a concert. She was very enthusiastic in her recounting of this story. Take this for what you will. My husband told all my co-workers I banged Lou Bega in college. It's still believed to this day. A friend of mine had a threesome with Jeremy Renner and said it was solid. Different friend went on a date with Young Gravy and said the sex was fantastic. Vivian Vance pulled a dick like she was yanking a carrot out of the dirt. I slept with Burton Cummings from the Guess Who. He was commando and there were smoked blunts in the ashtray. He also gave me the best oral sex. No one ever lived up to what he did, until about 30 years late. Other guys were good, but not that good. His crew told me he always picks one female, who seems to know his lyrics, out of the crowd, to sing to for the concert. It is nothing where he calls them out, just notices them and sings to them. The woman next to me was telling her friend how he kept looking at her while singing. I did not correct her. When he took a bow, I pointed at myself and then to him. He nodded. The next day I took him sightseeing. I mentioned he had not sung These Eyes the night before. He sang it for me. Maybe about 8 years later I saw him in Times Square. I stopped him and said hi. He knew who I was and even gave me the year we met. Overall, a good experience. My best friend had a one-night stand with John Stamos. She said he was very romantic and passionate. For just being a one-night stand. One of my roommate's girlfriend cheated on him with his favorite NBA basketball player. The irony. A friend of mine fucked Jimmy Fallon and she said he was saying, "How does it feel to be fucking Jimmy Fallon?" the entire time. She's currently a national-level news journalist on TV. This was while she was still a cadet. After she got hers, she literally rolled over and fell asleep. Woke up the next morning to her in my shorts and a t-shirt she took from my wardrobe. Danced her way out of my place to a cab. Literally danced. While still wearing my clothes. Later on, one of her friends was knocking on my door. Apparently, the dress she wore was borrowed, so she sent her friend over to collect. I handed it over, along with the shoes and underwear. Her friend asked what she was supposed to do with those, and I kinda said it's a package deal as I'm not that guy that would keep those as trophies. Only saw her once again in the nightlife district of my city. She was stealing street sign. Then, years later, she's on the news almost every night. Not me, but I know someone who fucked Pauly Shore. Like a solid 12 years after Biodome Pauly Shore. She literally describes it as exactly what you'd expect banging Pauly Shore is like. Jared Padalecki called my wife babe at a convention. She has never let me forget it. What scientific fact scares the absolute shit out of you? Scientific literature's conclusion on Alzheimer's disease and other neurodegenerative diseases, in general, is that the diseases start decades before the first obvious symptoms and that we need to treat them at this stage. When you exhibit obvious symptoms, it's too late, your brain is already mush. If you get diagnosed with Alzheimer's at 65, you had the disease since your early 40s at least. And you experienced very mild symptoms but didn't notice them. And your brain fought like hell to compensate for the deficit. When you get diagnosed, your brain is already very severely damaged and will never recover from the deficit. The fact that your body can have advancing cancer and you wouldn't know it sometimes. Father-in-law's brother was walking through his kitchen and he fainted and hit his head on the counter. He was rushed to the hospital and they ran tests and he had stage 4 pancreatic cancer and his body was already in the endgame. He was dead within 2 months of diagnosis. That shit terrifies me and it can happen to anyone. Our white blood cells are fighting cancer cells on the daily. Space just in general. Or that bit about the Higgs field not being in true equilibrium and that returning to it would break everything as we know it. I don't remember what it was called, but there was an event in the 1800s caused by solar activity where telegraphs operated on their own without power and I think caused minor damage. Should such a solar event happen again, it would destroy all of our internet network capabilities and other electrical gear. Anyone know what I'm referring to? Edit, Carrington event. Thanks for the links. When the atom bomb was being created, the leading scientists associated with the project at the time had to calculate the flammability of the Earth's atmosphere in order to ensure that detonating the bomb would not cause the atmosphere to combust. At the time when the first atom bomb was detonated, these scientists still had not answered this question, meaning that we legitimately just crossed our fingers and hoped we wouldn't set the fucking planet on fire. Humans are stupid. Edit, it turns out that this is slightly wrong. The calculations were finalized before the bomb was detonated, but the reporter who covered the event was not aware of this and had overheard a joke made by one of the scientists to place bets on whether the world burns, or something to that effect. The reporter ended up with the false information that it was possible for the atmosphere to combust, which was later claimed in an article. Thanks to all the people who let me know of this issue with my post. Your brain can just stoke out and die at any time. The fact that we can just get a blood clot and die and not realize anything was up. The human body has so many ways of just suddenly dying and it's terrifying. Prion diseases exist. Why do I click on this shit every fucking time? That you could just have a brain aneurysm and die at any given time with no warning. Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. It's genetic. You won't know that you have it. When you know that you have it, there is zero recourse. It will eat holes in your brain and you'll die. That, and fatal familial insomnia, also genetic. One of your parents woke up one day and couldn't fall back asleep until they died, having suffered rapidly progressing neural degeneration. And it tends to set in around midlife, so you spend every day waking up knowing it might be the last time. You find it hard to build relationships and have a family because you know it's not a matter of if, only when. But you know you're not gonna see your golden years. Rabies. You can have it and never know until it decides it's time. And then you'll die terribly. That one day I will die. I don't know why, but sometimes at night, as I'm falling asleep, I suddenly think of this and it freaks me out. Like start feeling super anxiety. The metaphysical aspect of consciousness. Where is consciousness? What is it? When does it really end? Where does it go when we die? When we sleep? How does it occupy our entire being without being physically present? We are quite literally the universe experiencing itself, in a fragile little bubble on a mote of dust in a sunbeam. And yet, what exactly are we? That's the sort of question that keeps me up at night. I don't fear death, I don't fear world annihilation, but I am deeply unsettled by the mere experience of being aware.